Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of the creditrepairshop.com. I'm going to go through a refresher on what you got to do if you have an automobile repossession. And the reason why I want to talk about this one here is we just had a recent client call us and showed us some documents on what she was going through. Number one, with the repo, but number two, with that phony insurance that these companies have been offering to make payments. So let's hop right into it. And you see the red lines on there. This was from a previous video, but these are just like my notes. So if you're dealing with an automobile repo, the first thing that you need to do is you need to get the original contract. The reason why you should get the original contract is because companies like Santander, Credit Acceptance, have been known in court records where the auto dealer gave documents to those companies that were not the original contracts. So people were actually sitting down with the finance person, signing contracts, and then they got that copy, and then what was forwarded over to American Credit Acceptance or Santander was a totally different number. This is how people started finding out it was a totally different number. Is they paid on their car, say they had 36 months or 60-month contract to pay for payments. At the end of that, they still owed almost the same amount that they had paid for the car. And then they got the contract, they were like, what the hell is this? They ended up owing the same amount. So you just imagine you pay for 36 months on the car and you think you're about to pay it off, about to get the title, you got the car. Now that money can be used for something else. And they say you still owe almost what you bought the car for. That's crazy. But that is exactly what was happening. So the contract was different. So I tell everybody, get the original contract and you need to review it. And if you don't have your original contract, you need to at least punch the numbers in and be like, if I pay this amount that they got right here, will that pay off the car? And then you know what you've been paying. You know what you've been paying on payments according to what they have there. Would that pay off the car? And you'll be like, well, this here that I've been paying every month, and this what they got right here, that isn't going to match. And I'm like, it boggles my mind to even be thinking like, if the finance company has a whole different contract, and you're sending in payments, like, and don't they even look at and say, you know, this car is not going to be paid off in 36 months with this payment that you just had this person do? Isn't it a responsibility of someone to notify that individual and say, you know, you're not going to pay that car off for 36 months. We just want you to know about that. I don't know, but that's in court records, not my opinion. Next thing I want you to do is I want you to look at this credit insurance. We just had a young lady call yesterday, and I looked at the documents, and they were supposed to pay if she ran into any financial situation. This is the way they sell it. Hey, if you have any financial situation, you know, you lose your job or you get sick and you can't work, guess what? With this insurance payment that you get, with this insurance that you get, this credit insurance, we're going to make your payments, or they're going to make your payments for you. And as a matter of fact, on her contract, it said that they were going to pay up to $3,600. Now, they don't tell you, hey, you're going to have to go through hell and high water for us to be able to pay those payments. So just imagine this sales pitch. Hey, if you just pay this small fee for this insurance, which is a few $100, or some of the times it's part of your payment, you pay this insurance. And if you lose your job or you get sick and you can't make your payments, hey, we're going to make your payments for you up to $3,600, but we're going to make you go through hell to be able to get that money. Would you get that insurance? Of course you wouldn't get that insurance. But this is exactly what they're doing to people. And I saw it with my own eyes, and I've seen it before, but I saw it with my own eyes. They're supposed to pay $3,600 of her payments. If they would have paid $3,600 of her payments, she would not be in the situation she's in with the car. with the loan. They need to do what they're supposed to do, and that's that either that credit insurance. Well, I'm sorry, the payment and protection is this one. The credit insurance you need to watch out for because these subprime auto dealers, they get charged back if you don't pay a certain amount of payments on your car. So if you get a subprime loan for an automobile, if you don't pay upwards of 6 months, it just depends on which finance company they use. They will charge them back. They will say, you got to go get the car, and we're going to charge back a certain amount of money on making that loan for you. That's why these dealers are so like hokey pokey about this stuff. So they will get this credit insurance, make you pay for it. And then what that does is it's going to pay them a portion. It could either pay a large amount of the vehicle off. It could pay the chargeback amount off. It's always about hedging. You know, we heard these big things about hedge funds. What is a hedge fund? Hedge fund invests in something to stop the losses from something else. Well, this is a hedge fund for automobile dealers. So now let's say that all of this stuff falls through. You get this information. The car ends up going to auction. You need to make sure that you get the auction statement. Make sure you get the auction statement because right now, used vehicles that can still move around and drive, people are getting way more money for them. One of my employees, her car broke down. And even though, I know they slipped a little bit of this onto the newer car that she bought, but they still gave her $1,200 for the vehicle because, and this is what I told her, junking the vehicle because of the type of vehicle it is probably going to get them more than $1,200. Or maybe it gets them $1,200. Maybe it gets them $700. What does it matter to them? Because they're going to make money from selling you the new car. Plus, they're going to make some money back from junking your car if they end up doing that. So if you have a car in good condition, you want to make sure you get the auction statement because I got an offer on my Range Rover, which is a 2016 Range Rover autobiography. At that time, it was a very expensive car. Now they got them for like $230,000. But when at that time they were like running at $150,000. And no, I didn't pay $150,000. I buy my cars used. But they offered me dang near the same amount right now. They said if you come in and just sell the car, you don't have to buy a car from us. We will pay you $70,000 for that. $70,000. If I need $70,000 right now, I can just sell that vehicle. But I'm not going to do that. That vehicle is my transportation, but they offered $70,000. They said if it's in excellent condition, which the vehicle is, took very good care of it, we'll give you $70,000 for it. And I know that they would because I've dealt with this dealership with Range Rover all the time. Because on the market for used cars, they can sell that, and how much it skyrocketed, they're going to make a killing on that. Also, with my RV, we bought it for $116,000. Right now, the same one is $145,000. $145,000. And maybe that with the inflation and all that stuff, but it's $145,000. And they're also sending us emails to say, do you want to sell your RV? No, we don't want to sell my RV. My RV saved me when the lights went out, when we had that big storm up here in Wisconsin, and we didn't have no electricity for a whole full day. Guess where I was in that RV? Some people say, you get that Rolls Royce, you can't live in it. My Rolls Royce is my RV. I had TVs, couch, refrigerator, everything in there, generator, all that stuff. So get the auction statement. Make sure you see what the amount is sold for, and we want to just double check all that stuff. Now, what we're doing right now is we're just gathering data for our next move. And then the next thing is you want to see the charge-off date with the original creditor to make sure that it's not past the legal statute of limitations for them to be able to collect. In most cases, you're going to be right at the beginning of this because you're just trying to figure out what's going on. Now, the next thing that you could do, even before, if they try to sell it to a debt collector or something, If you have any of these issues here that you find, and then also check to see if there's any legal issues with the FTC or the CFPB, like American Credit Acceptance had, like Santander had, and some of these other subprime auto lenders. See if there's any issues, and you can use those issues to negotiate a very good settlement. You never know, maybe you can prove some wrongdoing, and you could just say, hey, I would like to go into arbitration to resolve this issue. I have some documented proof of what either the dealer did, and you take responsibility for what the dealer did because you're allowing them to sell your loans, or some issues that I have with the way that you process the credit and the payments with your contract with the company. Regardless, all you're doing is you're just getting information to see your next move. So that's what you can do. Now, if it's past the legal statute of limitations to collect, then obviously you don't even worry about all of this. You just notify them that the debt that they're trying to collect is past the legal statute of limitations. Now, if they sell it to a debt collector and a debt collector has not taken you to court, you can utilize this information that you gather if there's stuff that's wrong that you find, and you can notify the debt collector, hey, this is my reason on why I'm, other than we have no arrangement with you, but these are the issues that I'm going to be bringing up regarding this debt. Because when you buy this debt, you take on full responsibility for it, and are you ready to to deal with this? And most of them are going to be like, no. As a matter of fact, I would say almost 100% of them are going to be like, no. Because if they take you to court and you start bringing up all of these issues here and all of the stuff here that's with CFPB, and you got documented proof that it happened to you, they're going to kick them right out of court, dismiss with prejudice, where they can't even bring it back. But you got to do your work at the beginning to get them into that situation. If you do nothing, they're just going to move forward. Like, a lot of people wonder, why do debt collectors move forward when I didn't make any calls? Not making any calls, not making any communications is not something that tells a debt collector, don't do nothing. That's not the way it works. If you do nothing, they still do something. Doing nothing is doing something. Doing nothing is to them like you're hiding from them, like you don't want to pay them. Doing something is, hey, I'm not paying you because of this, and this. Or, hey, you got me. I got to pay. I want to move forward and get this house for my family. It's $5,000. Let's go with $1,000. Okay, you don't want to do $1,000, $1,500. Okay, $1,560. Okay, $1,560, paid in full, gone. Don't have to worry no more. Understand your situation. What are your goals? And that's going to be the way that you proceed. So I wanted to review this because by doing this, excellent things could happen. With Santander, young lady comes to mind, $13,000 that she owed, found the issues with the contract, settled on the car for $1,300. Other people outright got their vehicles. But I don't like saying the part about outright got their vehicles, because there's a lot of circumstances that have to go down to be able to get them into the position of that. But it is possible, and it takes a lot of work on your part to find that information. So I wanted to do this review about repos because there's a lot of auto repos that are going on. And a lot of people are saying that the auto repo market is about to have another tsunami. In my thought process is that it's always going to be a huge auto repo market, because the vehicles could be resold. It's just like a churning. It's like cell phones, but on a different level. It's just like cell phones, but on a different level. So if you need help with your credit, please visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch the video, What Makes Us Different, so you can see my 8-point validation process, my 2-phase settlement process. If you need your credit reports and scores, go to the website your3scores.com. Grab your TransUnion, Equifax, Experian credit reports and all 3 scores. And if you grab those, you can get a free credit repair review. We'll review it, let you know what you need to do. If you want to come work with us, fine. If you don't, take the information and utilize it for yourself to be able to repair your credit. If you have debt collectors coming after you, grab my 3-pack of letters, statute of limitations letter for debt that is past the legal statute of limitations. No debt validation is needed if it's past the legal statute of limitations to collect. Cease and desist collection activities letter, not to be confused with cease and desist communications letter. This is a cease and desist collection activities letter, which will ask them questions, specific questions, to make them know that it's not going to be easy to just come and buy a debt and come after you for it. Specific questions, and a debt validation letter to go back and forth with them if they feel that they're going to try to keep coming after you. I do ask for a donation with those. I do have an upgraded version, but they're going to work, and it's going to save you time, money, frustration. Thank you for your time. This is Stephen A. Williams, President and founder of